Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Epoch dev stream. As always, I'm your host, Mike. Hello. How's it going, everybody? Oh, what a fine day we have for us. I don't know where you are, but where I am, sun's out. It's nice. A little cold, a little chilly, but we're doing good. We're just going to keep going. Playing our Void Knight here. Little spinny boy, having some fun. Let's go. If this is your first time here, welcome. Glad to have you with us. We do stream for charity, so all of what we have from the stream goes to a new charity every month. And this month it is the Salvation Army. So that's who we're streaming for today. And if you have any questions, please put at Last Epoch Game in the question, and I'll be happy to answer it. Until then, I'm just gonna hang out. See what's up. I'm imagining a very slow stream today. There'll be no difficult questions. We're just gonna relax, hang out, chill. Got that nice ambient, you know. All right. I think I wanna just adjust this just a smidge. I really like the music in the background. Ooh, don't get popped by that. Random name X. There's a question over the chat. How is trade going to work in Last Epoch? Wow. Well, if you direct your attention to our forums, we have a huge post that just went up yesterday, I believe. Feels like it's been like a week that it's been up for, and I know it hasn't. But yeah, there's all sorts of details there on how the item gifting system is going to work in 0.9. And that's all the information we have available at the moment. That's all we've really settled on as a firm. We know what the item gifting for 0.9 is gonna look like, and that's where we're at. Which we'll give a because you asked the question here. We'll give a brief recap in here. Basically, if you're playing with a friend, anyone, you're in the party, you're playing with them. They're beside you, item drops for one of you, you can give it to the other person. That's it. Easy peasy. There's some subtle details here and there if we want some follow-up details, but that's basically it. How many bottles of water have you drunk today? Well, I mean, I drank a glass of water this morning. And then this is my I filled this one up for the stream. It's a liter, so it's my second one of those today. So I'm pretty low on water today, but I'll be drinking throughout the stream. At the start, I'd love to have you. Ooh, a little close call with 1 LP on it. That's not bad. We're not using shields right now, so we're not gonna pick it up. I'm terrible. I'm only picking up things right now that are good for this character. That's how I usually do streams. Usually I'd probably pick that up actually though. Why won't you give me a direct answer? What are you hiding? Very little, I hope. Alright. Enemies of endurance. That's okay, we have culling. Can I gift affix shards? Okay, so this I wasn't actually sure about this, and right now, and so I just want to guess. I'm gonna say this before every question. So if you're here from the start and you're here to the end and you get bored of me saying it, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say it every single time. Currently, for 0.9, the way it's set up is. That's how I'm going to answer all these questions. But currently for 0.9, the way it's set up is no. Crafting materials themselves are not giftable. Which, sorry, Aaron, I know I told you the opposite of that yesterday. And it's interesting. There's been some things, some questions people have had for the system that like I hadn't even considered yet. And I've asked a few people, and I'm like, did we talk about that? I don't know if we did talk about that. And they're kind of really niche, like really specific cases. But it is interesting that's already happening. And so I guess the one that came up this morning was if you use a Rune of Ascendance on an item, will it allow you to gift that item afterwards? And my assumption was no, because the way it's doing that is it's actually making a new item, and I didn't think it would copy that property over. But I said someone test it, and it does actually copy that property over right now, but I don't think we're going to have it be that way for 0.9. So for what people care about, likely for 0.9, it probably won't be giftable once ascended, but it might be still. We've got to work that one out still. And on the flip side, you can make something a legendary and trade it after that, or gift it after that, because that really is when you make a unique into a legendary, it just sets like a flag on the item. It doesn't make a new item. Oh, I just looked back over chat. My goodness. My goodness. All right, how do you feel about those people who want to trade for Last Epoch as a core feature from your Kickstarter campaign would offer RF? No. I think it's just a little extra RF there. So I guess the first thing is clearly air a little bit. What we've announced is the way we're going to be releasing this for 0.9. And obviously we wouldn't, maybe not obviously, but we set it up this way for many reasons. Partially because we think right now this is going to be the best thing for the game, and it's hopefully what we launch with. That's our plan. But all we're really saying for sure is this is what it's going to be like for 0.9. That's solid. This is the way it is for 0.9. It's too late to change it for 0.9. Why? We're not going to change it for 0.9. And I guess what I'd say is the game's not out yet. Sort of the short answer. I know it's not a complete answer either. And like I think the game's evolved a lot. And a lot of the things that we wanted to do with the game when we first started, a lot of things that were like, we'll definitely have that in, it's going to be no problem, slam that in, easy, get to go and done. There were a lot of things that we never announced in that category that we've come to realize were very folly to even consider, let alone attempt. And they got cut as well. And there's a lot of things that have changed with what we've even things that we did want before we don't want now. And a lot of that comes from feedback. A lot of that comes from just playing the game. A lot of that comes from building the game. And I think this is we definitely want to deliver as I don't know how to say this properly. The vision we had for Last Epoch originally has changed over the years for sure. And I know a lot of people who signed up for it originally, there's things we've done already that is not what we originally envisioned, and it's already been a problem in a few times. And I think blindly sticking to what we originally planned would result in a much worse game. And I'm not saying that specifically sticking to the original trade plan would make a much worse game, but if we just said, okay, well, this is what we said 3 years ago, so we have to do that no matter what, I think is a mistake. And a lot changes over time. There's things that change with just the way technology evolves as well that even impacts it. There's things that change with, like, all sorts of external factors can have huge impacts on what we actually create and deliver and all sorts of stuff. and I think hampering us, or like hamstringing us to say like we have to stick to this one thing would be a pretty big mistake. Yeah, I might have some more thoughts on that later. It's a really important topic, and I don't want to gloss over it or think that we take it lightly or anything like that, because it is something that's really important, especially with the people that did support us at the start of the game and did help us get from, hey, this would be a cool idea, to, hey, look, we've got a game. And we don't take that expectation lightly at all. So there's opposing forces that need to be reconciled a little bit. And off the top of my head, I'm not sure the best answer to this. I think specifically with the Bazaar, it wasn't the right. Like, there's definitely problems there. And if you bought the game at Kickstarter specifically because that Bazaar 1 feature was the thing you bought it for, I'm really sorry. I hope that's not the case for very many people. And I hope there's more things that you can find that are fun in the game. And specifically, I guess, with the Bazaar as well, we did, when we finally decided, like, okay, the Bazaar's gone, we made that announcement extremely quickly. For when we decided it. We try not to hold things back as much as we can once we've made decisions. And I know that's possibly hard to believe sometimes. And there's been times where we've said, like, okay, well, maybe today's not the right idea, let's wait till next week. But it's never been like, oh, we'll wait a couple years and then we'll say this. That's never happened. Usually any sort of delay is just like, okay, we've got to format this answer and, you know, come up with what's going to happen when we do say this, and, you know, all these sorts of things of just building out the content and the material that's going to go with it. That's usually what creates any sort of delay more than anything, which is completely necessary. Moving on. Spending too much time on that question here. Is the reaction what you and EHG expected? I think there's definitely some reactions I've seen that I am unbelievably shocked about. That I see the reaction and I sit there and I read it or reread it or listen to it and re-listen to it. I just cannot understand it. It's just like, you know, those like, I don't what is the reaction to some of them? For the most part, yes, it's pretty expected. It's very, very mixed, which is, I think, any post on trade or gifting or anything like that in that sort of space, you're going to get extremely mixed reactions almost no matter what you say. I don't think there's any way to make a post like that without mixed reactions, because there's so many opposing viewpoints and conflicting things that are just like, there's yeah, there's a great video. Oh man, I don't know what it's called. It's like, we want you to draw 3 parallel green lines, but they all have to be red, and there needs to be 5 of them, and they need to be circles. So it's like these things that are just impossible. And I wish I knew the title of the video. If anyone knows it, it's a great one. And you know, sometimes it feels a little bit like that, trying to if you try and hit every single requirement, you're gonna end up in situations where you're just not you're not hitting some of them. Like, you've got to prioritize some things. And not everyone's gonna be super on board with that originally, or at least initially. And I really hope that once people who are maybe a little more skeptical of it, and get a chance to play with it, have a chance to, you know, give practical feedback on it. Practical is the wrong word. Give feedback on the system itself rather than expectations of the system. I don't know how to say this properly. Getting in there and getting your hands on it and trying it. I know everyone just wants to do that. It's like, oh, release it now or whatever. But there's still a lot of things to be worked out there. Alright, Renmix, you ask, trading is not giving someone something for free. Would it not be fair to say that there will be no trade in Last Epoch? I think that is a... there's a huge assumption there in that question that I really do want to talk about. And I think that if you add an extra premise to the start of that, or an extra clause to the start of that question, the answer is yes, that's true. However, I think that there's a huge portion missing from that question, and that is assuming that absolutely nothing changes. The trade system is like defining. I don't know how to say this. I'm not saying what. Fumble up my words a bunch here while I'm trying to do this. I'm not going to speak to what's going to happen in 1.0. And I think that's what that question's asking. So I'm not going to answer the question, because I don't know the answer to it. Okay, can you gift crafted materials? No. Crafted materials, can items be gifted multiple times? Yes. Can I craft on an item then gift it? Yes. Can I make a legendary item while with friends? Can I gift the legendary item to them, or is it only items that drop? So when the item drops, what's actually happening? This might clear up a lot of things here. When an item drops, it writes a literal list of the people who were in the party when it dropped, who are eligible to own this item. It says, so the item itself knows, like, I am eligible to be owned by these 6 people, or I guess these 4 people at most. And that item can be then traded to any of those 4 people. I know I'm using the term trade here, and I'm sorry. It can be gifted to those people whenever. And so as long as those 4 people still have that same account, that item can be gifted to those 4 people. This is, I guess I should preface this again. The way it's currently set up and planned for 0.9 is, as soon as the item is dropped, it records who it's for. And the act of upgrading an item from a unique to a legendary does not change what item it is. It flips a flag in the unique item, which changes the color of it and changes it to a legendary type and everything like that, but it's still the same item, so it still retains that same list of people that can own it. All right, yeah. So it doesn't really matter. You can actually drop the unique, and then go make it into a legendary on your own, and then still gift that legendary away because it's still the same item that was dropped originally. All right, if I make a legendary, it's that. Merry Christmas item gifting, Mike. That's what we should have done. We should have just themed the whole post around Santa showing up for gifting items, right? There we go. Problem solved. That would actually be a nice one to go to. Hello. Sorry, just arrived. Maybe you've already talked about it. Maybe not. Ichi took the first feedbacks regarding the trade devlog. How has Ichi taken the first feedbacks regarding the trade devlog? So, decently well. I don't know. I feel like everything's fine for the most part. Seems to be a lot of disappointed people. I'm quite happy my side don't like trading. So yeah, there's. I'm trying to talk about this a little bit, but there's going to be a lot of disappointed people. Whether if we say open trade, there's a lot of disappointed people. If we say auction house system, there's a lot of disappointed people. If we say limited trade system, a lot of disappointed people. Like there's going to be disappointment no matter what. I don't think that's a reason to. Just to be clear, the fact that there will be disappointed people no matter what is not a reason to say this is better or anything like that. And I don't think that the number of disappointment is a reason to evaluate the quality of the system either. And we're definitely listening to the disappointment and the feedback that we're getting from the initial reactions to how people feel about this and suggestions therein. This conversation is not finished. The conversation is not closed. It's not. Even if we say hypothetical world, we get to 1.0 and it's identical to 0.9. It's purely hypothetical. The conversation is still not closed. Like the conversation is never closed. I think we've done a really good job, and I do think we continue to do a really good job of being able to listen to the feedback that we're getting. And I think it's sometimes hard to see what all of the feedback is, especially because we do get a lot of feedback that's not from public channels as well. I think that's generally the best place to leave feedback for something like this, but it's not where we get all of it. Woo! Well, yeah, let's just walk through this high damage thing, no big deal, right? I'm gonna stay clear of that. Let's just heal up a little bit, No big deal. What did I have here? Rebuke? Yeah, sounds about right. Alright. Do you plan to update all cold attacks? For example, Icicle, Glacier, Ice Storms, Frost Nova, etc. Not specifically, but most abilities have had, almost all abilities have had some sort of updates done to them. So the answer is probably, but not specifically because they're cold. Respectable, totally fair, cool. I wonder what question that was for. Oh, with the Kickstarter one, yeah. And I think there's a lot of these questions here as well. Like, I do my best to answer them as completely as possible, without much prep. And if we want to release, I think that's a pretty big topic. I think that one in particular is a really big topic, and there's a possibility that things like that might get a little bit more of a little bit more formal response. I almost said official, like this is official. A little bit more formal of a response, possibly on the Acid Devs channel if it comes up again, or something like that. And so my wording might not be quite complete. Let's put it that way. For a lot of these topics. Oh, we've got Judd's here answering a bunch of questions as well. Thanks, Judd. Trying to be told for years, we've been told that shards are considered items. That's why you're not able to auto pick them up, auto sort them. So I won't be able to trade them. We'll come later. Yep, that's a great question on that distinction. Maybe. Oh, there's no. I'm sorry, I don't have a solid answer for you on that one right now. There's a lot of these little fine details that I think are going to get a lot of attention. Where a lot of attention is going to come from feedback for little fine details like that. So like if we do stick with the system, if that is what moves forward, I think that a lot of little details like that is going to be affected pretty heavily by feedback. But we'll see what happens. What would you say are some of the biggest differences between the original plan and what was decided as the right way to take the game? That's a really hard question to answer. I think that there was possibly a That's a good question. It's a really good question, and I don't have a good answer for you yet. Unfortunately, I don't think. I might in a second here. It's hard because the wording of the right way to take the game and the best way to take the game might not actually be the same. I know it's like a weird thing to say. I think a lot's changed with the game itself. Like how we play, what sort of content is available. The scope of several different systems has shifted very distinctly. And a lot of it, I think, is just feedback that we've gotten from people that haven't been playing it. Alright, why are you making limitations on us by telling us how to play your game? And by that I mean, why are you telling us we have to farm items instead of deciding whether to farm currency or items? I think that there's a... there's a hard sentiment in that question that's kind of a difficult one to answer. I think every game developer tells every one of their players how to play their game. And I don't think this is, sometimes it's more subtle than other times, but I think that that's always there, really. And I don't know, I think if you're gonna make a specific type of game, you're giving people the tools to play that game the way that game's being created, right? Oh, there we go. That was close. As far as, like, I don't know, we're trying to make this game that we want to make. I don't know how else to answer that question. What happened to a vibrant trading system? It did not align with some other conflicting goals. Can people who just not interested in playing without trade get refunds? I play Grim Dawn and Titan Quest and know that I have no interest in the game without trading. Really don't like your just try it attitude. Already know I don't like it. I can't say a blanket statement on any sort of refunding stuff right now, unfortunately. There's like, I said this is the wrong forum to ask that question. I'm sorry, I can't answer it right now. It's also I think this goes back as well to this is what we've announced as going to be the system for 0.9. Does that have implications for the way we're leaning for 1.0? Yes. Is that a strict hard guarantee of what it's going to be for 1.0? No. we've definitely built this in the attempt to create a system for how we think it's going to go very well and be the type of game that we want it to be. There's always a possibility we're wrong, you know? And the only way we'll know that is by getting feedback from people playing it. Or right, there's the flip side of that too. How do you plan to have seasons but have no trade? I don't see the problem there, I'm sorry. Even though I kind of like PoE, I feel there are too many league mechanics at once. Everything is mixed together, it's overwhelming. Do you plan to have rotating cycle mechanics? For example, a new cycle starts, you have a new mechanic, you keep 3 or 4 of those cycle mechanics and move the rest during the cycle. It would let people enjoy mechanics that are having tons of them happening at once. I think we'll little column A, little column B probably. And it really depends on what it is and when it happens. So part of why there's that issue in Path of Exile is because it's been going for so long, and there are so many cycles and so many leagues that are overlapping and have a ton of mechanics and things like that that have become incorporated over the years. We definitely don't have that problem right now, and at least initially, I would say the chances are that most mechanics, most league mechanics, will become evergreen right off the bat, and they'll probably feel more like little mini expansions than they will just a league mechanic, at least initially. It's generally what I think will happen. But if this was like better base stats, I'd just wear it out of spite. It's not though. Womp womp. So I think at least initially they'll probably be mostly, or if not all, evergreen mechanics. I don't know how else to say it. That's a magic term, but things that will just stay moving forward. Partially because we want to build up that list of endgame ability or mechanics and endgame activities to do. And then I think likely as we get further on and there's a better baseline for a better stable of fun and interesting unique mechanics to play with at the end game, I think then we might see like some taking the place of other ones, things like that possibly, but that's quite a ways down the road. If people want to try the gifting system, can they just download and play D3? The only difference is there's less steps in D3 gifting system. Is there less steps in the D3 gifting system? I feel like it's the same thing, isn't it? I don't know. It's been at least a year since I played D3 at this point. I understand the sentiment. I think it's a little disingenuous to say that they're the same game, and that you know, like, there's a lot of things that go into contributing to those things being fun or not. And so like we have very different item systems, I think, overall, and I think there's a lot of things that are, you know, like it's hard to say yes, just go do that. I don't think it would. I think it would give you a rough idea of a lot of the similarities, but I don't think it would be a good indicator of specifically how it's going to feel, because it's a different game. Oh, someone asked, missed the at me. Oh, you found the name of it. The Expert short comedy sketch. Yes, that's... Yeah, right. They keep being like, well, you're an expert. Surely you could do this, right? And the Expert's like, well, no, because that's not how physics works. Alright. One of the biggest concerns I see is that playing in an organized party is going to be far more effective than solo player due to gifting gear. I know you've said that you think organized groups should be slightly more effective. Do you think balance will need to be tuned further to account for this? I mean, it's possible. There's an extremely easy slider we have for tuning multiplayer balance relative to single player. Like, really, really easy. So, we do have the ability to make those adjustments on the fly and have made several adjustments to that system throughout the CT program already, and we'll continue to. I also would like to point out that I think a lot of the rhetoric around the power difference between solo and multiplayer is very extreme, especially if it hasn't been played with. And I know I keep saying that, like you need to try it to really get a feel for it, and I think it's really important because you get very extreme examples both ways, where it's like, okay, well, I'm never going to play out of a group now, or I'm never going to play in a group now because of this. And if the goal there is to optimize everything for both sides of it, both can't be right. But yeah, there's definitely adjustments to that'll happen. Yes. All right. One of the biggest concerns I see is that playing in an organized party is going to be. Oh, did I say that? Yeah. Yep, that's the same question. Okay, moving on. Have any ideas on how competitive ladders will be implemented? Will there be competitive multiplayer ladders in addition to solo self-found competitive ladders? Yeah, there's. We're still working on a few details there. As far as SSF characters specifically, yeah, we'll be splitting SSF characters off from standard characters, like be able to play together characters and gift items from each other in ladders. So that will be a split on the ladders, because that's a pretty big distinction, solo or not. I mean, so many of these details, I guess I should be prefacing them with, the plan currently is. Just one sec. I'm being told that many of the questions I'm answering have been already answered. In the conversation, because apparently I'm way behind, which is not terribly off-brand for me. We're gonna get yes. Let's get some questions this way. All right, I'm gonna stop taking questions from chat, and people are gonna feed me questions another way. So I'm gonna be looking to the right now for questions instead of the left. All right, any plan to give some love to sets? I feel like this is. Oh, that was the same question, isn't it? I feel like they are quite underwhelming, especially since legendaries exist. Sets special effects look nice. The lack of sets in comparison with legendaries is huge. Yeah, this is something that comes up pretty well every week. So yeah, I can answer it. We still have plans to make sets, I guess, emerge as their own item type and have their own place in the end game. Currently, most set items fall into the category of leveling set item, or not really a super end game set item. And I think that's kind of a distinction that was one of the things that is really good about the legendary system, is it does bring up set item or unique items that were not designed as endgame items to be possibly viable as endgame items. And we still have to find some sort of equivalent system for that in sets. However, we're not planning on making them just be legendaryable through the same systems that uniques are. Oh, apparently I am still taking questions from chat. Whoops. Will sorry, working on this, doing my best here. There's a lot going on. Trying to like look at a question and see if there's like already an answer for it, and then like scroll back up to it. Can you maybe show your build? Is there a command for it? There is a build for it. If you do exclamation mark build, it should give you a link to it. I can give a quick brief look. We're doing Void Cleave and Warpath. I've been basically just Warpathing a whole bunch. Void Cleave is mixed in there. We're proccing Abyssal Echoes. We're using Anomaly for hard fights to break things up. We're using Lunge and a little bit of invulnerability while lunging. There's some nice little extra things in here as well. Like there's culling and buff for killing things with it, and extra charges and things like that. As for passives, we're basically all in Void Knight, tiny little bit into Paladin, mostly for the Ellie res. This is where we're dumping our points right now because we're short on health. And as for our gear, just a bunch of really mediocre, like decent, not great rares for the most part. Yeah, this one's especially comical. I need a better amulet. Big time. And that we crafted this reflected onto there twice. Unfortunately. Which was payback for getting the perfect mod on this first try. Okay, I'm just going to answer another question here. I'm sorry if it's already been answered. In regards to the current plan for item gifting is each encouraging party play every time. What's the opinion about when Cycles League seasons come and there's only a limited time for progression? 4 people can get more than a quadruple times the gears. No. Possible as opposed to going solo for the same amount. I should be looking at the screen. It's the same amount of time invested. How will this affect ladder, arena, etc.? You balance drop rates towards multiplayer. We're hoping to have as little balance changes for drop rates for multiplayer and single player. The rhetoric that it is 4 times as many items or more than 4 times the gear is extremely false. That is not true. There is you can theoretically funnel up to 4 times the gear onto one person, but there's lots of things that change that math. That is just like it sounds good. Like, oh, it's 4 times the items. It's not. For like just the first thing, everyone would have to be the same class. Everyone has to be the same base class, but different builds. So you'd have to have everyone as, say, like a sentinel, but no 2 people wanting the same items to even come close to that 4 times number. And then on top of that, you'd also have to very carefully orchestrate what goes to where and what goes to who, and the time involved with doing all of those gifts as well. And then that's also assuming that you're moving through content at an identical rate, which, like enemies are harder. So if one person gets ahead, they then slow down, and I like the damage output from everyone's not being accounted for 100%. So there's a whole bunch of like little things that in theory, yes, in a perfect world where everyone's playing absolutely optimal and the group is absolutely 100% perfectly organized, it is a pretty big buff to finding some certain things that you can funnel onto one person. But having it be just everyone gets 4 times the loot is very much not how it works in reality. And so this is like the difference between theoretical and practical. So I hope that's accepted, but if you'd like to debate that more, I'm happy to. Alright, is there a plan to bring the interface in some other languages like German, for example? Yes, we do plan to localize the game into many different languages. I've got a list here. Can I say that list? Okay, I'm going to say that list. If I don't die. Yeah, so our current plan, our current goal that we're hoping for is to have proper localization for and this there could be something that happens here that causes, like, there's always a possibility that something goes wrong and one of these isn't realized fully, but this is what we're working towards right now. So the plan is simplified Chinese, French, German, Brazilian Portuguese, Spain Spanish, Polish, Korean, and Russian. So yeah, there's a little news leak for you, and there's a lot that's going into that, and it's possible that some of those happen before others still too, depending on how things go with that. Because there's some tricky stuff with, like we've made our own font for the game. It's not actually, it's on some of the website stuff, but it's not in the game yet, which I love it. Maybe it is in the game. I don't know actually. I don't think it's anywhere in there yet though. The new font's great, and it will. Of course, it's not in the game yet. Sorry, but we don't have the character set for any other than words that you would find in English yet. So we've got to expand that. There's lots of little things that come around with localization that we're still working on. Oh, my hand is 1 to the right. There's an interesting one as well. There's certain, like, if people know this, if you may know this already, but if you are walking and you're moving with left click and you click on your mouse goes over something that is clickable. Like here, I'm not going to click. I'm just going to hold my mouse cursor down, and I'm going to go into that portal. So I didn't actually click on the portal specifically. I just held my mouse cursor down. Now this is a problem with things like waypoints on the ground. So you're moving, and like I'm not clicking here, but this just pops up even though I didn't like specifically click on it, and I might have just been running away from something, which is a problem with waypoints in combat zones. And so we just added the ability to tag things that are interactable with requiring a unique click for them. So avoid that. So that's good at least. Alright, I've seen EHG mention open trade very often, yet no one is asking for full open trade. We're asking for a trade of some sort and not full open trade, and gifting is not a trade. It's literally D3 system with extra steps. So I am there's thanks for the comment. I just like to be clear that you can't focus one viewpoint for the whole community, because the whole community does not agree on what the community would like. There are many people in the community who would agree with you, and there are many people in the community who would disagree with you on what you're asking for. Because I do get requests for full open trade a lot. I get requests for absolutely no trade, not even the gifting system, a lot. Like, so there's pretty distinct extreme examples on everywhere. All right. This is a good question. Can you guys have just two modes and select making a character, one with open trade and one with no trade? I feel like this would make a lot more players happy. There's a possibility that it could have a positive impact. It also has a pretty important negative impact, which we have to weigh. And it's one of the main reasons why we haven't introduced this as an option so far. And that is, it splits the community. And it means that it means that there's a possible requirement to have different drop rates, and then there comes the question of like, okay, well, can you then like move a character from the good drop rate to the bad drop rate system, you know, that sort of stuff. And it's pretty messy. We kind of doing that already with SSF, so like if you really don't want any of that stuff, you can just play SSF and there you go, you're good to go. But there's no the other half of that, the pure trade's not there. Oh, careful, buddy. Just, you know, take a little breather. Let's do this. Our attack rate goes up, our leech rate goes up. So much more survivable when we have that on. I'm gonna scroll ahead because I think there's a lot of really old questions here. So I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. Any combat feel spoilers for today, and how much graphically game can be improved in theory, zones, and skills? I mean, yeah, we've got we've definitely got lots of graphical updates. I think there's lots of room for more of them coming too. I do have one little spoiler for later on graphics updates. I'll share it a little bit. I got one here. After this, I'll share one with you. Hey Mike, asking for a friend if Spriggan will get movement boost or skill for 0.9. I'm gonna say what I said last time, which is still no more information really, but hopefully it means something. Because I don't think it was heard last time, which was we don't want people to be restricted from playing with friends based on their class choices. So if you're like, I want to play Spriggan, and I'm like, oh, okay, well I want to play Sentinel. And I'm gonna just race away from you with my lunge, and you're gonna be left in the lurch. Too bad, so sad. We want to avoid situations like that. So having a way that players can keep up if they want to. I'd be surprised if they didn't. Is important, regardless of what class they're playing, and we're taking steps to make sure that that's the case. And it's not just Spriggan that's affected. I think Spriggan's probably the poster child for this problem. But just Primalist in general. Well, not strictly Primalist in general, but Fury Leap has a little bit of an issue with it, I think. You know, we're gonna throw a couple things on the ground here. We've got like 3 of those in the stash. Bye bye, bye bye. Just dumping a few things, you know. Getting pretty close. What is it, 900? What is it? Oh yes, the giant 900 that's right there. That's being covered by the tooltip. That is only looking at this text box and not the other one. That's my fault. Alright. Let's do this one. Why not? The 4x or more is talking about in regards to time investment. Yes, I agree. That's why it's wrong. Going party only needs 1 stability and boss run to have 4 times the chances to drop an item, which is way less as opposed to going solo, running a boss, build up stability, and repeat the process 4 times on cycles and leagues that has limited period. Co-op play would just destroy those who prefer solo. They can get to optimal gear easier. So I there might be something missing here, but if you have 4 people that are doing their own timelines and going through to get their own, to kill the boss themselves, or 4 people in one party doing it, and those people are going through those timelines at a very similar pace, which is what happens. It's a very similar pace. You get 4 uniques dropped in this category and 4 uniques dropped in this category. And yes, I agree that you could then trade these 4 uniques amongst each other, but it's still 1 per person and 1 per person. Like, it's still the same number of items, right? So you could funnel all of that to 1 person. So 1 person's getting up to 4 times the number of unique drops out of that final thing, and 3 people are getting nothing. So you can do something like that to funnel that, but it's not 4 times the items. Right? And it's you end up going faster. Generally, I find myself going through them faster solo as well. Like, I've done this with a bunch of friends, and it always ends up going faster on my own. Morning Bros, nice. Alright, question. Will there be a way to party with strangers? Like a party finder type of system. We don't have one planned currently. That's not to say we'll never make one, but there's not one currently on the books. There is good old chat. Oh, I forgot to show the spoiler. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What are you doing, Mike? Let's take a peek here. Little shiny one from Primalists. Ooh, ah. What do you think of making inventory where items go into the slots bigger? Size of D2, let's say, so we can see details on those uniques better. Oh, like a I see what you're saying, like an art viewer. I think it's a great idea, and we've definitely talked about it. We've definitely talked about having something like that, because the art that is in there for the 2D art is just unreal. and a lot of it, especially the smaller item slots, like especially like belts and things like that. I was just sold my inventory and show, but something, but you can't really see it that well. I think a lot of the smaller items, especially the art gets lost in the size. So I'd love that. Can you say anything about supporting overlay add-ons? Not at 1.0. Thanks, Quiet. I appreciate that. I do. Given some common shareholders, will we ever see Chris Wilson face on a cape? Oh, will we ever see Chris Wilson's face on a cape in Last Epoch? I doubt it. I'd be pretty shocked if that happened. I'll say we have no plans for that at the moment. One of the things we do really strive. This is actually an important topic. It's one of the things we strive to do with all of our MTX and things like that in game is having in-universe reasons for it existing, and at least right now, Chris Wilson does not exist in the world of Last Epoch. I know I skipped a big chunk of questions, and there was a lot being answered by multiple people there. So if I did miss any questions, I'm actually caught up now. I thought I was further behind than that. If I did miss your question, please feel free to repost it, and I will go for it. NFC named Whisk Curlson confirmed. No NFCs. No. No. I will fight tooth and nail against NFCs being involved. Oh god. Judd just says in chat, I'll ask Chris if he'd like to be in an MTX cape, and we'll call it Chris Wilson cape. Just kill two birds with one stone. Gross. Gross! Boo. Why do I love it? Alright, here we go. It's like one of my favorite VFX animations in the game still, I know. I know a lot of people think it's too bright. We'll see what happens, but I love this little thing. It's one of my favorites. I was watching something in Mythic Quest, and they they tried to. It's a TV show about game development, loosely based on game development, I think. There's definitely been some conversations I've seen in there that I'm like, oh my god, I've had that conversation exactly. But for the most part, it's pretty loose, I think. And they were talking about trying to put NFCs in the game, and it just went so horribly wrong. I thought it was funny.
Stand down or die.
All right. So pretty. You know what I should do? I don't know how hard this is, but I should put like something on my screen to like remind myself where the like edge of this is. It's like something roughly there. Oh, that's pretty close. Are we there? We're there. Let's go. Charge once more forward onto the void. New CT build just went out.
This is a mercy.
All right, here.
Shut up. Do not stand in my way. This is a mercy.
I should save that for later. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Stand in my way. Shut up.
So, oops, nope, that's stream chat. Don't click on that, Mike.
This is a mercy. Do not stand in my way. Shut up. This is a mercy.
Oh,
Do not stand in my way. Behold, the rage of winter. This is a mercy. Shut up. Do
getting
not
dizzy in here.
stand in
Now we're
my
spinning
way.
hard. Oh yeah, there we go. Realize I gotta like make sure I've got
This is a
mana.
mercy. Shut up. Do not stand in my way.
Okay.
This is
Any
a
chance in the
mercy.
future for a higher tier of
Rise,
legendary
my
unique?
fallen
I'd be
champion.
very surprised.
Lead me.
It's kind of like the definition of feature creep, or power creep. Sorry, not feature creep, power creep. I think we're more likely to see,
Shut up. This
like
is
for
a
example,
mercy.
set items having a way to compete to be something else that's a viable option. But like on the same tier, anyways. There's not a, we're not looking at adding in a higher tier above legendary,
This is a
but having
mercy.
set items be possibly
Do not stand
on the
in
same
my
level,
way.
and like there's situations where we want like a unique to or an exalted item to be the right choice, and I think
Shut up.
in a perfect world, there'd be no consistent like
This is a mercy.
best in slot all items on your character are purple, best in slot all items in your character are red, best in slot all items in your character are green. Like those situations are not ideal, I think. And I'd like to see I really generalizing here, so I'm sure there'll be some builds where this is just wrong, but
This
for the
is
most
a
part, we'd like
mercy.
to see where having
Shut up. Do not
having
stand in
many
my
different
way.
item types on your character be the desired
This is a mercy.
style.
Shut up. Do not stand in my way.
Okay, we're almost there.
Did what I must
We're there.
to protect my people.
All right, we're not replacing this with the same. Well, we might keep it, but chill. Fizz res. I mean, we could. This isn't bad because we could just drop all our fizz res off our gear. Increase armor. That's actually really nice. Physical resistance shred on hit. That's not what we want. We don't want that. So it's armor, fizz res, or just leave the endurance threshold. We're so much overcapped on physical already. I don't think it's a good idea. Like, yeah, I could cut out of a lot of places, but like, I don't think we'd see much from that right away. I'm kind of leaning towards the armor. I'm gonna go with armor. How much armor does that post up to? It's an extra 5% on physical hits. No, that's decent actually. as opposed to 57% on 58 of our health or whatever it was. Who knows? Alright, regarding trade, I personally agree with the overall philosophy of EHG and Last Epoch. Ellie is about earning your gear, farming your gear, and making your own build. Making unique builds, having that feeling of achievement that you as a player made the build and earned every piece of gear. Trade can potentially take away from that goal if done incorrectly. I love the fact that I can gift items to friends I play with, and that is planned to be part of point 9. I have the utmost faith that EHG can come up with a trade system that works with their vision of what they want Last Epoch to be. My thoughts: maybe some kind of time-gated trading currency to facilitate trades for specific items. Either way, please know, Ichi, that there are players like myself that appreciate your vision for Last Epoch. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks, bud. And thank you very much to Release Seed. Release AD. This is the problem. In the one thing, it doesn't do the capitalizations, which like says so much about what the word is. I'm like, it's released with a weird A in there. Oh gosh, I'm dropping stuff. Oh, it's staying on the ground. Turn off the heat and open a window because it's warm in here. All right, what are we still missing? We've got Grand. One's less important. Yeah, let's go over here. Yeah, I got there. Don't worry, bud. I figured it out. It took me way too long. An embarrassingly long time, really. Apparently, we may know who that is. Sorry, bud. My bad. Yep. That's just me being terrible. At least I did that to someone who we know instead of someone else. That boss I just killed is so tough in spring form. Yeah, you get stuck in the hurricane when it dashes away, right? It's tricky. I mean, I know this is not a long-term solution at all, and it just sucks to do because it's the time on it's so clunky. But you can shift out and Fury Leap. Hey Aaron, you'd like to formally invite me to a future This Week in Action podcast? I don't see why not myself. I'm not going to give you a firm yes no. I'd love to join you. Future's pretty vague. I'd be surprised if we can't make something work eventually. Guilty. Come on, let me at least leave some room for ambiguity, please, huh? Drink lots of water, everybody. I actually just realized, I don't know how it took me this long to realize, but like the main spoiler I have for this stream, it's like the most perfect build I could be playing for it. Adding on to what Master Sword talked about, potential time gating gifting, has the idea been discussed of some kind of trade token used to trade with specific player that is earned by playing with that player, perhaps even exclusivity. Yeah. So the I guess what this question's asking is having like my best friend that you can like say like, hey, this person's someone I play with and they're my best friend in the game, and we can just trade items between each other freely, and like you can like give that one person your token and they give you theirs, and it's like, okay, we can trade stuff with each other even if we're not playing together when it drops. And this is what I assume the question is asking. I think that's what it is basically, and I think that we definitely explored this type of system as an option. This is something we talked very in depth about. We had a name for it. We had a cool name for it even, and at like a few points it wasn't like just one person. It was a group of people, things like that, and there's lots of different things we've talked about and considered and looked into, and a lot of the person quantity restrictions like that often, and I'm not saying this is for every single one, but often end up feeling very arbitrary, and kind of a slippery slope of, well, okay, if you can do this, well, then we can orchestrate through some sort of like delayed system of you can do this other thing, and then okay, well, if you can do that, then you might as well just enable this one little thing, which ends up enabling this other little thing, and it ends up being like a lot of little decisions of cascading. Like for almost everyone, this is the like the way that they would use it, and then the abuse case just wrecks it. Because in a lot of situations with things like this, abuse cases are not something that people want to do. If they were said like, okay, here you can take action A, let's go do something fun and you get reward A, or you can take action B that's not really that fun, but you get reward B and you also get reward A as well. So you do this thing that's not very fun, but you get double the rewards, or you do this thing that's fun and you get half the rewards. And even if you're like, I want to do the fun thing, I want to do the less crazy ridiculous way, you end up doing the crazy ridiculous way because you get more rewards, and that incentive, that draw, is so great in some certain circumstances that it'll have you doing things that you don't find fun to earn this reward. And a lot of the trade systems that we worked through and looked at if we thought it was a good fit or anything like that, a lot of them kind of came down to that happens in a lot of cases, and definitely not all of them, and there's lots of ways around a lot of them too, but there's like a lot of times it boiled down to that, and so several systems got scrapped because of that, or let me phrase that was a contributing factor to several systems getting scrapped, or not scrapped, denied entry. And maybe there's a way to fix some of those. Maybe there's a way we didn't think of in some cases. Silk Avenger. Hi there. Will it be asynchronous trade? I post the item per price, go to bed, next morning log in, and it is sold. We don't have plans for that at the moment. At least in 0.9 there will not be that available. In 0.9 it will be strictly item gifting to people who were in the party when it dropped, or in the zone when it dropped, which is basically the same thing. Thank you very much. Kentarok. Nailed that one. So good. Glad to have you here. Hope you're having fun, enjoying yourself, learning something new maybe. Teaching me something new. That's a good thing to do here too. Alright, how does Vault in Lightless Arbor work when it comes to multiplayer? Does every party member in there have to interact with the door? So if you have a friend with 800,000 gold and you have 0 gold, are you left with no reward? Or will you receive the same reward as your friend? So this is a really, really interesting one. And it's, I would say, subject to feedback pretty heavily still. But the plan for 0.9, and I really like it, and I'd be surprised if we didn't go with this for 0.9 at least. But the plan is that we are going to have one person pays the money. Whoever wants to start paying the money, that person's the one who pays the money. No one else pays anything. And so you go in and you, but only the person who, so everyone who doesn't pay anything, only gets partial rewards. So there's this, like, you can mooch off your friends, but you can't quite get full rewards from mooching off your friends. And we're still really testing that. And we're still really trying to figure out exactly the best way to do it and all those sorts of things. And so far it's been pretty positive feedback on that. Yeah. Right now it's we really want to avoid the situation of, and this goes back to the key, like the needing a keys to enter the dungeons in the first place. It's basically the same reasoning behind that, where we don't want you to go into a dungeon and say, like, okay, well, I'm doing dungeon runs with my friends, and okay, well, we gotta stop because Johnny ran out of gold, so we gotta stop, or Timmy ran out of keys, so we gotta stop, or Timmy ran out of keys, so we're gonna keep going and leave Timmy behind. And Johnny ran out of gold, so he's not going to get much from the way of rewards. So we're going to keep going, and those two can go farm up the things they need. No, we want people to still be able to play together, and have it feel like a rewarding experience still. So we're going to, the plan right now for 0.9 is to have one person pay, and everyone who doesn't pay gets less rewards than the person who does pay, but it's still like the same type of rewards, if that makes any sense. The specific details on what that ratio is very much up for change still. Come on. Just why won't you die? Why? Alright. Any chance at 1.0 to have uniques that have skills that proc other skills? Example, when you leap, it causes earthquake on landing. Yes, because we already have those. So yeah, we're gonna keep doing those. I think, did you literally quote exactly an item we already have? Yes. The example you used is literally an item in the game. It's called Baldur's Wrath. I'm not sure if you knew that or not. It wasn't quite clear. I more meant that you generate some sort of gift points towards the player by playing with them, and gifting them items costs those gift points, potentially with gifting powerful items to weaker characters costing more. Or more possibly some big abuse case or something like this. That's interesting. There's a system we had discussed that's kind of similar, but you've actually got some unique stuff in there, which is interesting. And I wouldn't say impossible, but the big, like, if you're gonna say, like, okay, poke holes in this idea, see what comes up. The first thing that comes to mind is the complexity of the system. I don't think there's much of an abuse case. What I like about it is that it does emphasize you playing together. I think that there would be a lot of complexity problems with it. Like what's the most efficient way to farm points together? Would become a pretty common question, and like the balance around how many points it takes to send every item, I think would be contentious. I'm definitely not saying this is things that would preclude it from being possible, but like there's definitely complexity issues, and some of the ideas we've talked about, the main reason they've been shut down is due to complexity issues. Are drop rates going to be affected in multiplayer with a group, or does everyone get the same drop rates they would playing solo? Currently, there's no plan to have different drop rates per person based on the number of people in the party. So whether you're in a party on your own or with 4 people total, 3 other people, there's the same. When a boss dies, it doesn't say, okay, how many people are in the party? Okay, now let's calculate the drops. It's just, the boss died, calculate the drops. And it doesn't matter if you're in a party, solo, whatever. Timmy wants stacking keys. I think we can slip in one more teaser here before I jump into the next. Here we go. Before I do it, I'm just going to do this real quick. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff right there. So this is updated VFX for Void version of Warpath, as you can see in the game right there. So there's a little bit of a combat VFX feel update. You can also see there's enemies that are taking hits are getting staggered a little bit in some cases. There's new death animations. There's hit VFX happening here. What other new stuff's in there as well? There's so many little things. Yeah. Is that a 2-hand specific, act specific? Well, the VFX for each one of them is a little bit different. This is the one for the 2-handed axe. The other ones are still like similar, but they've all been updated. You can see the big frost golems sort of take a hit, boom, boom, stagger, stagger right there. Yeah, I love that the stagger animations. That's, I don't know, weirdly like it. Increased health and damage. We can take that for a couple of glyphs there, but yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Let's get back into it. It's oof, taking some beats there. And it's interesting, like, we're using the exact same ability here with the same 2-handed axe thing, so you can see the difference here. And I really like one of the things I really like about the new one is the feel of it is something that's spinning around instead of just this blur of death spiral around you, which is like, I do still really like this one. And it's funny when there's a VFX that you like really like, and I think a few weeks ago actually I was talking about how much I like this VFX, and then when it comes along that you like more and all you can see is the better one, you're like, ah. Come on, just. It's close. I did rebuke that, I think. At least I tried to. Maybe I just can eat those hits. Alright. Dank Lebs. I've really been enjoying all the communications lately. Will there be more of that we can expect, or not much other big items to detail? I don't think there's anything quite as large a caliber to discuss before the end of the year. I don't think there's anything quite as large a caliber to discuss as trade probably much at all. Just because of how huge trade is as a topic in general. But yeah, there's definitely more things to talk about, but not quite in the same size. I think we'll be looking more to January for major updates. I'll still be here next week. Little things will be squeaking out still. We will take a break over Christmas for all of you that celebrate Christmas, and just a regular break for everyone who doesn't. I'm trying to work something for next stream. We'll see if it happens. Hope it does. We'll see. All right. Security consultant inside has a little smile every time you mention abuse cases when designing systems within Last Epoch. How do you draw a balance between mitigating risk and mitigating enough risk? Between mitigating all risk and mitigating enough risk? That's a great question. A lot of it comes down to feedback and feel. Where you'll quite have to get a pretty clear answer from people of like, what's a good example here? I think the line usually is, and this kind of comes back to what I was talking to you earlier, is when the abuse case has a reward strong enough to pull someone from their normal use case into the abuse case that wouldn't do it normally. So, say you have a case that is an abuse case that most people are just like, okay, the abuse case gets me an extra 1% items, and it kind of sucks to do, or it's complicated, and like I have to like research how to do it, and it's not something I just know how to do. I have to like learn it and set things up to do it, but it only gets me this tiny little bit of like 1% extra stuff. Who cares? Probably wouldn't be too concerning. But once that abuse case is enticing enough that it starts pulling people out of their normal play patterns into the abuse case play pattern, it is probably worth looking at and evaluating if it's going to be bad. Because usually it's a very slow, like, okay, it's like it's fine, it's filling out. This is a bad example. It's filling up, it's fine, and then something tips, and it suddenly goes from this is sort of a whatever, and then it tips into an overwhelming problem. It's sort of all or nothing in a lot of cases with situations like this. Ooh. This is where my necrotic and poison resistance really shine. So good. Oh. Glancing away will do to you. So if drop rates are the same for each individual in a party, and you let people in a party gift items to each other, doesn't that create an advantage and incentive to play multiplayer rather than solo? That is an element of advantage to playing multiplayer, yes. Now we're gonna jump a logic step here in the next part of the question. 4x drops and an easier time getting what you are farming. Farm. I disagree. I know it has been mentioned that the team didn't want to reward people for playing multiplayer versus solo. I don't remember that. It sounds like it might be a big incentive advantage to teaming up. Am I misunderstanding something here? Yes, I think you are. And I think it comes from this number of 4 times drops, which is not true. And I've been over that before the stream, and we can go over it more if you'd like. But I'm going to proceed with the knowledge that it's not true. And yeah, it does incentivize playing in a party, definitely. I think there are I think games like this with I think if you're gonna pick one way or the other to go, it's generally going to be more fun to have incentives to play in a party than not. I think when there's, I think this is exactly what we were just talking about with exploit cases. When it tips too far, and I think the perception is that 4 times would be too far, and 4 times might be too far, but it's not 4 times, so we can talk about what it actually is. I don't know what the number actually is, but it's definitely not 4 times, because that's just, it has to be less than that, so it is. But if the incentive is too high, and it makes it so that the people who are playing solo and are feeling left out or are not able to accomplish their goals in the game, that's something that we'll definitely talk about and look at. And it's not a matter of just too bad so sad. It's a matter of I don't think the problem's as bad as you might think. And I can see why theoretically it looks like it might be that bad, but I think there might be some factors in reality that are, like, in practice, that are a little bit underrepresented in the assumption that it's 4 times. And I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we ever said that we wanted to avoid rewards for playing multiplayer. Whether the hard wouldn't be or anything like that. Oh, Agent Ice, or yeah, Agent Ice Zero. I thought you were the same person asking the same question from before, because we had a very similar question asked, and I think the person had the same color name as you in the chat. So I'm sorry if I sounded a little bit terse there. I apologize. I didn't realize you just got here. My bad. Alright, synergized party will be best, then single player, and then unsynergized party. Yeah, and I think that's the way it is. Like, I was playing, Ursus, I hope you're not watching this. I was playing with my buddy a little while ago, and, like, I was going way slower playing with him. And this happens in all sorts of, not specifically him, but this happens in all sorts of different games, where, like, okay, this happens in, I'll give you an example. Preface, I love Diablo 2, it's possibly my favorite game of all time. I was playing with, playing in a party, will net you more gear in Diablo 2, it's very similar way to it does here, because you just get more, there's more, it's shared drops, but there's more drops per person. And we did a reset recently. That was, I guess it was like almost 2 years ago now, but there was like a reset party where everyone was just like going like, okay, let's all go through together and let's play. And we got to the end of Act 1 and I'm like, I could be at the end of Act 3 by now. Easily. But I'm playing in a party, and you know, you wait, and you hang out, and you have fun with your friends, things like that. So yes, an unorganized party that's not going full optimization is not going to be as fast. There's social things that take up time and slow down, definitely, like that happens, and it's not just with our game at all. So yes, an unorganized party is slower, even though there's this ability to share loot and everything like that. Like there's things that take up time. Like you want to go like BRB bio, and okay, we'll wait for you, or oh, okay, we'll just do a quick one without you. Like that right there alone is like there's not 4 times, you know. Or even just like, okay, I'm gonna check this gear to see if it's better. Like, is it an upgrade? Is this an upgrade? You know, stuff like that. Yeah. And I think that's what we're looking at, is that a very synergized, well thought out, well oiled machine of a party is going to have an advantage over someone who's playing on their own. But if you're not like singular focus to be optimal, the party's gonna slow you down a fair bit. And yeah, and someone else messaged me saying that the question about avoiding rewarding multiplayer possibly was a misconstrue of that we didn't want to require group play to do anything, such as like big raids and things like that, which is still the case, to be clear. And someone else, thanks Aaron, yes, in chat as well. Exactly. Yeah, it's that we don't want to say have a boss that's like, okay, you need a party of 4 to go do this boss, or like there needs to be a big raid of 8 people to show up to do this one encounter. We'd like people to be able to experience the content throughout the game solo. And having a boss that's specific like that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing in general to have in games like this, but that's something that the way we've generally been playing things is, you're able to complete the content solo if you want. Let's say bye to you. My goodness! Oh, we're chugging! Oh, we haven't done that in a while. This is exactly the sort of stuff. My CPU is just dying right now. Oh. One day we will do hardware encoding and this will be less bad. My CPU is struggling to encode this and upload it. I'm probably dropping frames left and right. My anomaly got interrupted. No! Just take a breather. And we're good. Okay, let's go. That was close. That was scary. Hello. Hello. Elevate. Elevate. Leaning away from trade topic, one thing I'm curious, since the MTX plan is cosmetics, what's the limit of the ridiculousness of the possible cosmetics? Will everything be on theme, or is there a possibility of lightsabers, robotic wolves, Captain America shields, as well as something like flowery effects and rainbow-colored warpaths? So okay, I guess I'll say the general goal is to have the items be things that can reasonably appear in the world. So, things that make sense. So having a having a cape that has the logo of some esports team, that sort of thing on it, would probably not happen because that esports team doesn't exist in the game world. You know, having something be so it's less about theme and more about what exists in the world. So, I mean, if there was a rainbow unicorn that existed in the world, there could be something that was themed around it. We have no MTX currently planned around anything like that. But I'm just using that as a point of like, it's less about tone and theme and color and things like that, and more about what exists in the world. And like you can get a pretty good idea about theme and tone for the world based on what you see in the world right now. So the things will generally make sense and fit and feel like they are like, oh yeah, okay, I see why that cosmetic is there because that makes sense. For the most part, like it won't. It's pretty strictly. There might be some like minor deviations here and there, but I would say it's solid in the like in set in the world, and we're not trying to like you won't have you won't have a bow MTX that replaces your bow with a sniper rifle. You know, that's because the sniper rifles don't exist in the world. Even though on tone and theme that would make sense if it was like, you know, like a laser sniper rifle. I'm sure we could find a lol skin that would fit perfectly. But you know, it's still got to be a bow. Can a pink sheep reasonably appear? We do have animals. I mean, there could be some mad scientist that makes a mistake when trying to make an invisible sheep that turns it pink by mistake. That's there we go. Pink sheep incoming. There's no plans for that. I hate the chill. Chill sucks. We don't have consistent repeatable cleanse. So chill sucks, and slow. Chill and slow are both painful to deal with. Rage sucks too. This is probably fine. We're unique as well. Can I tease any MTX? I don't have any. I don't have anything ready to go. We have shown some MTX before though. If you go to the we sprung a leak forum thread, there are some examples of MTX that are there. If you'd like to see the type of thing. Usually the big thing that MTX brings is, like if we're talking about skills, so we're still doing skill MTX, there might be a visual distinction that doesn't match a mechanical style that we've currently got planned, but someone really wants it to visually look a certain way. So like, I don't know if we're actually doing this one or not, but the example I like to do is pretty straightforward in that, like say for example, you have Fireball and you want a blue Fireball, and we don't have a blue Fireball in the game as far as mechanically is going, because that's usually blue is usually reserved for like lightning or cold depending on the blue style, and so we do a plasma ball, but it's still got the fire in there too. So like if you wanted to like make it just like this pure like Fireball, but just straight up blue or purple, like void Fireball type color, and we would have that type of thing be an MTX. So it would be like just be like, okay, your Fireball's now blue. And then as far as gear goes, it's quite often things that are like, we really want the gear to be like really cool looking, but we're saving some of the more ostentatious options for MTX. So something that's a little more over the top. Maybe there's like VFX included in the actual gear itself. But like I really don't. I really want to stress that we're striving to have the gear look cool on its own without MTX as it is. And I think I look pretty fucking sweet right now. Alright. Is this game playable with the beta at the moment, or is this limited to developers? The version that I'm playing right now is fully available to anyone who wants it. It's on Steam. That's exactly how I'm playing it on Steam. You can see the version that's up here, beta 0.85 F is the current version that's available. Version 0.9 will become available to anyone who's purchased it on March 9th. That's the right day, right? Astro Station, that's the right date. I'm pretty sure that's the right date. God. Someone scream at me if that's the wrong date. Anyways, and we do also have a community tester program that is you need to request access to that gets access to a different build, which is 8.12 right now. I think 0.812 is the version that's on there. And yeah, so yeah, it's available. You just have to buy the game to get access to it. It's a clear thing. And that does continue forward through till launch. There's no repurchasing. Once you bought it. That's it. Hello, Mike. I just saw your PC specs. I'm running an RTX 2060 with Ryzen 7 first gen, 32 gigs of RAM. Don't judge me, please. Can I expect to run the game at 60 frames most of the time for 0.9? Right now, I can get around 80 FPS, but the frames drop a lot when fighting. Yeah, I think there's... Okay, Martian, that's correct. Cool. There's there are quite a few performance updates that are coming for 0.9. There's a lot in individual zones, individual enemies, individual abilities. Every single one of these things got taken through with a fine-tooth comb, and they've all been checked for ways to make small improvements. And we've also, on top of that, done many systematic changes to several systems that get triggered a lot, especially in high combat situations, that will all work together to increase frame rates. They'll all increase frame rates, and the biggest effect that they have for me personally is the consistency of the frame rates, is the lack of dips and drops and plummets and things like that happen. So earlier when I was fighting all those enemies and my frame rate just started chugging along like crazy, but part of that was like I blamed it on the encoding, which does have a big effect on that because it is CPU limited, which is the problem it's having there. But part of it is just that's a tough thing for the game to do. And that's where a lot of the stuff came in. A lot of the changes. But yeah, if anyone's wondering, this is i7 7700K. That's not overclocked right now. And even though I know it's got an unlock multiplier because of the K. Anyways, and 32 gigs of RAM and a 1080 Ti. It's Ti. Pretty sure. So yeah, I don't have I'm not running some amazing system here, but I do run consistently 60. If you are looking to get a little bit better performance, and I saw that you said that you sit there at 80 frames sometimes, streamer mode will help you. In the settings, if anyone's wondering, streamer mode, it will lock your frame rate, but it will improve your dips. You'll get fewer dips. How much health scaling is it per person? Like 100% per person, 200%? No, it's not quite that much. And this is what I was talking about, having a dial we can change pretty easily. And it's something that we have changed a fair bit. I don't know what it is. I don't know the exact numbers. It does tell you as soon as someone joins the party, it says the party size is increased from 1 to 2. Enemies now have 140% health. I don't know what the number is, but like it says what it is, and it's pretty specific, and it's yeah, it's good. We recently bumped it up a little bit on the amount of health gain per person. The enemies gain. This is the healthy enemies gain. That's actually a nice helmet. Hey, had a question for Temple Sanctum. If 2 people go in and the first puts an item in the Sanctum to make it legendary, can the other player take it out or take the finished product? Think of it more like it's your own personal crafting bench. And so you put your items into your Temple Sanctum, and they put their items into their Temple Sanctum, and you pull your items out of your Temple Sanctum, and they pull their items out of their Temple Sanctum. So they are separate. However, if the unique that is being used dropped while you're in a party together, that item can then be gifted after it has been used in the Temple Sanctum. This is as it stands in 0.9 right now, subject to change. It is this is our plan for 0.9. The 0.9 plan is very solid. There would have to be a very major problem for us to change something at this point for 0.9. And this is likely what we'll have at 0.9. Hey, a question. Oh, isn't that any specific players you're hopeful will make a Canadian World Junior team and expectations this year? I don't follow the like prospects well enough leading up to it. There's usually like a week before the tournament that I'll just like go like read and watch everything and all the guys that are playing. And I haven't hit that yet, so I'll get back to you on that. But I am pumped for the tournament. Yeah, it's you probably know this, but as I've said before, for everyone else, World Junior Hockey Championship is my favorite sports tournament every year. It's so great. I'm very pumped for it. Get to sit down and watch with my son this year. He only watches small chunks of it though, because he's still quite young. But he does say that he likes hockey, so big win there. Alright, something that would be cool is MTX set themed after Saigons. Yes. I don't know what the legal implications of something like that are. I'm right there with you and very on board myself. One of my favorite things to do was to show up as like a smiter within full Saigons and like be like, you know, I'll solo Hellveil, whatever. I just feel make fun of you for wearing this terrible gear, and you're like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Or at least wearing enough of it so it looks like you're in full. I do love this this one. It's a good one. Boom. Lizard, have people been nice to Mike? Oh, people have been very nice to Mike. I know I kind of stumbled over a few questions at the start here, and I'm sorry about that. It's tough to talk about sometimes, but no, I think we did well today. Right. Rough estimate to how many uniques going into 0.90. There's still a few. There's still some to be made for it, so like I don't have a number. It won't be a huge number. I think 30 would be an overestimate. I think 30 would be a like, yeah, 30 would be an overestimate. You want at least 23 to celebrate the new year? I would take that. Is there an entity limit for summons that would be possible to reach with multiplayer group devoted to maximizing the amount of summons? We don't have one right now. It can get pretty high right now. You can get a lot. You can get a lot. You a hockey hair fan? You all hockey hair fan? What's your team? I don't follow the NHL that much. But the Canucks, if I'm going to pick a team, it'll be the Canucks. Andrew, I'm sorry. I was raised that the Maple Leafs were the devil. I can be tolerant, but you know, just it's in my blood. I can't help that one. Aaron, I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you an exact number. I can't even estimate it because there's like I might say a number and we might get in there and start making more, and like between now and then that throws off what I say very hard, so I'm sorry. So I've asked before, but will there be an option to optimize graphics in Last Epoch? Yes. Like these ones? Yeah, I think that's what the question's about. I don't know. We've hit our mark there. We're at 3 hours, 2 hours. So we're gonna be heading out. That's all for today. I hope you had fun. I know I did. Had a good day today. Hope to see y'all here next week. And that's it. We're just gonna call it a day. I hope you have a good time. If you didn't get your question answered and you'd like to have someone else answered, please head on over to our Discord. Reddit forums will be lurking. We'll be trying to answer questions best we can. I know more stuff's going to come out about talking about trade, and that conversation is going to keep going. So if you're interested in it, please keep that conversation going. And we're listening. We're doing our best to engage as well as we can, and I look forward to seeing what comes out. See you later. Drink lots of water.